So, if I recall correctly, the last thing that we had happen at the end of last episode was we had two new paralytic Abasia folks show up, and we brought them in to hang out here. And Tony, in particular, is the father of one of our colonists, Kenta. So if we look at the social tab here, yeah, Tony's son is Kenta, and Kenta is a very controversial member of our colony, because when Kenta first arrived, Kenta was quite reviled by me in particular. Yes, this particular RimWorld is quite a long ways away, Rusty. I have about 800 to 900 hours in RimWorld, not in this particular world. This particular world we're about, I want to say maybe 150 hours into, all of which is up on YouTube, as a side note. Not that I am recommending watching all of that, but we are going to have a raid here. Oh, are we drop pods? Is that what we're getting here? Oh no, several separate groups of pirates are coming in. I expect some of them will tangle with this particular mech cluster here, but we'll kind of play it by ear and see what happens. Oh yeah, here they come. So we just get to watch this one go. Oh, are some of them gonna make a beeline past? All right, well, I don't think we have much to worry about from these pirates. They're going to get... one set of them is already fleeing. That's why I like to leave these mech clusters here, because they do good work. Well, I love to have you here chatting, so thank you for swinging by again, and we're gonna... Oh, they're gonna blow up my mountain. Absolutely obnoxious of them. Well, we'll be ready for them when they do. But let's see. Let's get you here, Mule. Let's get you here. Bivor can come out, and Amboss can come out. And now we are. All right, that was about as anticlimactic as it gets. I'm not going to tangle with them too much, but I will bring Valentin out. Valentin has Bloodlust, so getting Valentin a few kills is good for business. Oh, absolutely my pleasure. This is about as far as we will go, because we don't want to run afoul of the mech cluster. But yeah, RimWorld is one of my all-time favorites. 1,000 hours in Dark Souls 2. So that's actually a game that at some point I will probably pick up, because I have not played Dark Souls before. I've watched a lot of Dark Souls 2, other streamers playing it, and I like the like massacre type of genre, but yeah, I've never actually tried it myself. Maybe I'll have to put that on the list to add in. But at the moment, we're going to be draining power a bit because this geothermal is now cut off. I haven't built any redundancy into our power lines here. But yeah, to go over the base a little bit while we're waiting. So this is our throne room and cultural space. The ideology added relics, and we've been collecting those over time. Then we have our armory here. Bedrooms are all kind of surrounding our rec room, which is rather unimpressive. Meat and food locker here, our crafting space here, and then the fungal fields are down here, where we produce a staggering amount of raw fungus that we then use to feed everything in. So it's funny you mentioned that, Rusty, because I am a big first or third. I heard that the middle one is kind of the redheaded stepchild, Stefan. But But yeah, I think that I definitely got my interest in streaming 100% came from the fact that that was the primary way that I was ingesting content myself. Like, I just loved watching people stream games. And so eventually I had an interest to kind of do it myself. Evacuation, welcome. And thank you for the follow. Doing well, doing well. I seem to remember I think your icon looks very familiar. I think at one point we talked about you offered to kind of help me out with some graphics or something like that. But this stream just started, and I've been streaming for a bit over a year now. I started in November of last year was when I first began streaming, and I took a brief break. My background is different because I'm actually on the East Coast at the moment, taking care of a family member, but I decided to take some time to still to stream, so I've been streaming a little on the side, basically. Yeah, but things have been going well, and I've been having a lot of fun. So Rusty, I'm pretty old as well. I turned 40 earlier this year, so I feel like an old man myself, but I try to keep hip to what the kids are doing as best I can. One thing that's very interesting is we shifted our sleep schedule because we're a darkness colony. So we shifted our sleep schedule. So we okay, you got a couple years on me, Rusty. So we're working during the nighttime, and that's to help out with the fact that the darkness meme from Ideology means that we have some serious bonuses if we're fighting in the dark. So I've been trying to take advantage of that, but that also means that our army of bears, all 51 of our polar bears, are now sleeping during the night and operating during the day. So we have this kind of like split shift thing going on in the colony where animals operate during the day and we operate at night. Obviously, we have a couple sun blockers that are preventing it from ever not being dark on our home turf. But when we venture out into the world, we aren't always within the realm of this sunblocker, and so it helps to have changed our timing so that we dispatch at the beginning of our day and are not tired when we get there. Stefan, I know that feeling all too well. Some of the things like I have to say, if there's one thing in this world that makes me feel old, it is the TikTok trend of like gesture dancing to things that just I can't wrap my mind around what world I would ever want that to be happening. It's a very kind of like bizarre and upsetting thing to watch, but it seems to be the hotness, so I try not to judge, and at some point I may start trying to edit some of my videos down to either be YouTube Shorts or, heaven forbid, even try and post them to TikTok. But I'm not much of a reaction streamer. I'm not, kind of the high energy, like in your face, like, slamming the desk when something bad happens or anything like that. So I don't know if my highlight reels will pull in all that many people. Well, that's what I got in spades, Rusty, is all the chill that one could ever want. And RimWorld for me is just like the chill game. Like, it gets a little frenetic and crazy from time to time, but for the most part, I just find it to be a very kind of like calming Zen game. You build up your work orders, you figure out how to kind of like get your colony running appropriately, and then you can just kind of enjoy and think about the creative aspects of how to kind of build your colony in a way that that works well for you. And then you can start working on projects like this mausoleum of all of our fallen comrades here, or the terrarium, as I am referring to it as, made entirely of jade, and soon, hopefully, to contain all 3 of our holy relics. We have collected 2 out of the 3 of them. We have the Stack Trace, and we have the Vanta Bit Chalice, but the Hex Crux is still proving elusive, and we're waiting for new quests to be able to go collect it. So I think that's the Rusty. I think that's the transition that happens, in my opinion. I'm by no means disagreeing with you. I do think that there's a micromanagement aspect to it. But I think what is really fun is, so I've played a lot of, like, for instance, modded Minecraft, or Factorio is another good example. The types of games where you build automation, and then you have the opportunity to kind of enjoy that automation kind of functioning, and that's something that I really, really appreciate. Oh yeah, Stefan, that is like an archetype for a building style that I really like, and I've seen some people pull it off a little successfully, like the small buildings, kind of, like medieval hamlet type of vibe. Obviously this is not that. This is like, large compound. We have our kill box. We have, relatively sizable perimeters that are kind of like protecting us. But I do find that, especially at the higher levels of difficulty, RimWorld really punishes that sort of design, the disparate design. You really need to do a little bit of AI manipulation to be successful, especially as the difficulty levels mount. But yeah, I see the message that you just dropped in the chat, Stefan, and I kind of agree. Like, I think that combat can feel a little micromanagey, but once you start to build the systems to automate things, that's kind of the beauty of it, is, I can be kind of here waxing philosophic about the, anything and everything random, but for the most part, my community that I have built up over time is kind of operating, right? I don't have to tell my people to treat the flu of all of these polar bears, because I've created the prioritization and the work orders in such a way that, the community kind of goes about its business. And then every once in a while you have to do things. One thing that is kind of like a funny aside. So all of these polar bears that we have were born of 2 polar bears. So like, if I grab a random polar bear here and pull up its social, we will almost inevitably find Lolita as the grandmother / great-grandmother of nearly every one of these polar bears. And that is because we started this colony with only 2 polar bears, one of which is Lolita, who is 23 years old. Yeah, Minecraft is a bit of an acquired taste too. I totally get that. That is another one of those games that I am just absolutely in love with. But yeah, so Lolita and our other polar bear, Nanook, were the 2 polar bears that started out the polar bear explosion that we are currently experiencing and have come to rely on. And Muggs here was a raider that attacked us from the Devil Outlaws, which is one of our pirate factions. They are our pirate gang. And Muggs fired a Doomsday rocket launcher, which is a rather massive incendiary device at Nanook, our polar bear, and evaporated Nanook, the father of most of our polar bears, at least initially. So that was rather sad and heartbreaking. So I decided to capture mugs, make them a prisoner, remove their legs, and have made it a point to make them as absolutely miserable as I possibly can, for as long as I possibly can. And I've kept mugs alive for, let's check really quickly just to see. Yep, for the last 4 years in this colony, Muggs has been living in a hot room surrounded by debris near the fungal fields. That's one thing I like about RimWorld. I do enjoy that it can bring out a little bit of the sadistic nature in folks, for lack of a better way to describe it. I think those are the two best reasons, Rusty. And yeah, Terraria is a game I've played as well. Terraria to me is kind of like, is very Minecraft-esque. I think the two have, you know, an insane amount in common, where Terraria has more combat, is more combat focused, and I think Minecraft is a little more creativity focused, is kind of like the way that I would split it up. You know, Terraria has amazing boss fights, and I've kind of played through, I played through Master Mode once, never while streaming, and that's a game that I would love to pick up as part of like a collaboration. I have a few other streamer folks that it would be kind of fun to set up something regular with and do like a Terraria world with a couple of people. I find Terraria single player to be a little less engaging. Oska's attack work. So let's see what we have here. So the Exodus Empire wants 8 soldiers to carry out an attack. They're not offering anything particularly interesting, so I think we'll ignore that reward for the time being. But yeah, I find building much more rewarding in Minecraft. Like the 3D aspect of it, I think is very satisfying. And then I think, yeah, we're gonna get a good engagement. Oh, maybe not. I think we're gonna have to fight these ones. So they're breaching. So they're probably gonna blow this up again. So I guess we just head out and get ready. Oh, they blew up the one last element, so we're gonna get a mood bonus from that. I guess that's nice. Oh, wait a second. Holy cow, that's a lot of grenadiers. Yes, Rusty. So on my channel, if you're at all curious, there is maybe 150 episodes of me playing a mod for Darkest Dungeon 1 called the Pitch Black mod, which was actually made by a person who later went to work at Red Hook because they recognized the quality of this guy's modding. And Pitch Black Dungeon was just like Darkest Dungeon, but made intensely more difficult. And it's a great mod. Takes a lot of the things that I loved about Darkest Dungeon 1 and kind of keeps the party going. But yeah, again, that's another game that I have a huge amount of time in. Okay, so now we're getting... They blew just a massive hole in our defenses. And I want to be careful that we don't get... Okay, nice. Yeah, so I love the Pitch Black mod. Had an amazing time playing that, and that's the only time I've played Darkest Dungeon 1 on. Where's Amboss right now? Oh, Amboss is in the tank. We have to make sure we're not. This was a very strange raiding party that we had here. I think we can safely just have Bibor take some fire and just. We got to be careful with this guy, though. We don't want anyone getting lit on fire. So I'll hit them with a Berserk. Yeah, so I have oh, here, actually, let me just check in Steam so I don't talk out of turn. Darkest Dungeon. So I only have 500 hours in Darkest Dungeon. But that certainly includes a lot of time playing modded Darkest Dungeon. Oh, we should check to see if we have any good recruits here. Dang, we got some serious Darkest Dungeon players. I love it. I guess that's no surprise. RimWorld in kind is nice, but their skills are lacking. Let's see how happy are you, Valentin? Okay, so Valentin's got their 5 killed someone buffs. So let's have Bibor. Bibor's only killed 2 people. So I'm going to have Bibor take these ones out. So there are only certain Darkest Dungeon mods that I'm even that interested in, if we're being honest. Like, I don't like the single class mods, although some of them are absolutely beautiful. It's actually one of the things about Darkest Dungeon 2 that I am most, I won't say concerned about, but yeah, I guess I'll just say concerned about, is that Darkest Dungeon 1, so much of the modding community was based on the fact that it was so accessible to mod the game using 2D graphics, right? You know, you could just, like, almost anyone could create a 2D animated graphic. And unfortunately, now with Darkest Dungeon 2, the graphics are gorgeous. Like, the game is, you know, drop dead beautiful. But I think it's going to make modding significantly more difficult because it's going to be very hard for the modding community to generate the kinds of 3D models that the game has. But I've underestimated modding communities before, so I'm not gonna say it's impossible. So I really like the first season of The Witcher on Netflix, and I've never played the games. They're on my list too, and I generally don't like what I'm going to call, like, The Witcher is like third person combat type of thing, and I've never been a huge fan of that. You know, it's like the Gotham Arkham Knights Batman design type of thing. And it's not my favorite. It never feels particularly good. I think when it's done well with QuickTime events, it can be rewarding. Oh, did they improve combat in the later Witcher games? That's an interesting one. I kind of assumed that that was mostly additional plot beats. But at some point, I would really like to play The Witcher, and I certainly like the universe because, yeah, my girlfriend and I have been watched The Witcher Season 1 and, like, binged it, loved it, and now I'm stuck on the East Coast, so we're gonna wait to watch it together at some point in the future. Let's see, I probably should check. Well, so a lot of the Witcher combat is, you know, I refer to it as QuickTime events, but it's kind of like it's like the Shadows of Mordor system, right? Where you're like, oh, if I push the counter button now, then, you know, a thing will happen, and it has like a little bit of like a Zelda like lock on to someone system type of thing. So as a counterpoint to my argument that you don't need to do micro, I do micro these zones for forcing our polar bears to move things. Oh yeah, I can see how the kind of like combo driven system that you're referring to, Stefan, could really not feel great. Because, you know, it takes away a lot of player agency if there's, like, long stuff happening. Oh, yeah, and then... one thing that we have to consider as part of this is we're currently doing a quest. We have a quest that is currently active. That is this one here, Friends Needing Help. Now, there is some desire to take Tony, and he is a body modder, iron-willed, and a jogger, and steal him away. And we're going to piss off the why to do that, but it might be useful. Because I'd like to have another combat person, another melee character, and Tony has pretty good stats for that. Decent melee, and then iron-willed, jogger, body modder are good, but not great. I'm starting to talk myself out of it. If Fletch were here, then I think he would strongly advocate for Kenta's father joining the colony. We're doing a good job working our way through the insect meat that we have. We convert the insect meat to chem fuel, and then that chem fuel runs our generator farm, which keeps us powered. This part of the... I feel like this didn't used to be this way. I'm not sure why it's so dark over here, but I'm going to add a couple more lights. Yeah, Stefan, one thing that I miss with the long playthroughs is that they do, like, this world is a world that I'm very deeply immersed in. I know where everything is, but there's something really fun about kind of starting over and seeing the huge variance and having to adjust to the randomness of the world and kind of adapt and make do. I think that's really fun. The thing I always found frustrating about Darkest Dungeon 1 was I always found the roster size to be way too limiting. That is the one guilty pleasure that I had in my Pitch Black dungeon runs, was I did eventually increase the size of the roster. Hey, you two, stop fighting. We will Word of Serenity Morrison. Sorry, Morrison. I'm sure you didn't start it, but... In fact, let's take a look at that really quickly. So what happened here? So Morrison compared Bieberox to a grasshopper. This drove Bieberox into a rage, and she began a fight. All right, so I'm going to blame Morrison. It was a 50-50, and I think I made the right decision. Bieberox, using her left fist, expertly bashed Morrison in the torso. Morrison, using her right fist, professionally slammed Bieber on the torso. Bieber beat Morrison in the left leg, etc., etc. Glancing blows, hit to the rib cage, etc. But we'll put Morrison there, and Bieber apparently got done with her fight and immediately just went to the harpsichord. Yeah, So the thing about... So I think of Darkest Dungeon 2 and 1 in such different terms. I guess one thing that I really liked about Darkest Dungeon 1 that I will certainly miss in Darkest Dungeon 2 is multiple of the same class in a party, right? I mean, like, you know, obviously who didn't enjoy Quad Leper, right? Quad Leper was the peak performance in the world of Darkest Dungeon. And the idea that I will never have Quad Leper in Darkest Dungeon 2 does bring a tear to my eye. But yeah, Crimson Court was the worst. I'm on the same boat on that one as well. I didn't find Color of Madness. I think that was the name of the expansion. I didn't find that one particularly compelling either. I found the Farmstead to be kind of meh. But Crimson Court it so fundamentally changed the whole game because of the way that the vampirism curse happened. Well, yeah, Darkest Dungeon 2 doesn't have the opportunity to become invested over time in in a roster of heroes, right? Like, you can't develop the same attachment. Like, there were characters in... So, spoiler alert for the end of my Pitch Black series, since I don't think anyone's going to watch the 100+ hours that one had. But the last episode, as a side note, the final episode of my Pitch Black Dungeon series is absolutely worth a watch. And I won't spoil exactly what happened, but it was the first time that I got the achievement that's called Old Road, I believe, in Darkest Dungeon, which is when Reynald and Dismas from your first mission go on the final mission. And I had renamed both of them. I had renamed Dismas as one of my friends / streamer buddies, Meon Rai, and same with Reynald. And they both went on the final mission, and the final mission was something else, because Pitch Black Dungeon changes the final mission in a pretty significant way that I was unaware of when I kind of set out. And I was, to quote Illidan from World of Warcraft, I was not prepared. But yeah, that was probably the coolest single moment that I have had in my YouTube streaming time. That was like just kind of an incredible thing. Oh, Bangs made a flak vest. Yeah, so I have always... So there's a couple things. Like, generally, I think that the primary lesson to be learned in Darkest Dungeon 1 is that your characters are expendable. So this is kind of like... This goes back to my philosophy of what I think was so brilliant about Darkest Dungeon 1, is that the ancestor is, kind of like, oh, you shall know the tragic extent of my failings, and like, tells this story of how he became more and more corrupt and, was murdering maidens and drowning them in pools and whatever else. And I think that the game innately teaches you to become that sort of twisted, evil, macabre entity over the course of it, because I think that the winning strategy for Darkest Dungeon 1 is you throw level 1s at missions totally under-equipped, let them all die, discharge them, rush getting the stagecoach upgrades right off the bat, and then rinse and repeat that until you have like a huge bankroll, and then use that bankroll to invest in being able to level up characters and actually provision them appropriately. But you always have that engine of just sacrificing level 1s to kind of like build your economy. And to me, that's a very heartless way to go about it. And then once you start playing a bit more, you start to then spend that money and invest and get attached in other characters, obviously, in order to kind of beat the game, because you need to get to level 6. That's a huge time investment, etc. But as a result, Dismas and Reynald always, were just like cannon fodder in my early game strategy of just sacrifice everyone. So yeah, so this was the first game where I tried to keep everybody alive. Or tried to keep a lot of people alive. So and eventually I had some pretty significant losses, but the losses in Darkest Dungeon 1 just feel so impactful. That's one thing that I really, really enjoy about Darkest Dungeon 1 is when the feeling you get in the pit of your stomach when you lose someone that you didn't think you were going to lose is it's so gut-wrenching and perfect. That is the only way to describe it. And as of yet, Darkest Dungeon 2 has not created that same feeling in me. But I also think that the nature of that, whatever we're going to call it, in Darkest Dungeon 1, that strong feeling of investment, also made it a game that when I played it seriously, and then I had to put it down because it was so kind of emotionally exhausting. You know, you were like, I can't play it right now because if I lose someone or something, it'll be disastrous. And I've had that with RimWorld too. This particular, as a bit of a history lesson on this world, the most noteworthy character in there. Actually, I'll do this as another video. Be right back, YouTube future viewers.